Should you dunk your head in an ice bath? I had to have an ice bath panic attack to find out. Now, I'd call myself a cold shower veteran. I've been having cold showers every day for the past 8 years, but I'm a bit of a noob when it comes to ice bath. I've been having cold showers for so long, I thought having a minus 0.2 degree ice bath would be a walk in the park. So as I'm sitting there in the ice bath, 1 minute goes past, and usually by a minute I'm kind of getting a little bit more comfortable, able to slow my breathing and calm down. But the second minute came, and I was still in so much pain, and I was still breathing way too fast. I couldn't control my mind state. My thoughts were flying everywhere. I felt awful, and I genuinely felt like I was having a panic attack. And then by the third minute, I just had to jump out because I was in so much discomfort. I felt so anxious, and I actually thought I was going to pass out. And it just put me in a bad mood for the rest of the day. It's actually the first time I've done cold therapy and felt worse than before I'd gotten in.
Feel good?
So what did I do wrong? I went home and did some research and went back for round 2. Here's what happened. Alright, so let's watch this video now. So I'm getting in the ice bath now, and as you can see, I dunk my head straight away. And yeah, it takes my breath away. I come to the surface and I just start breathing again, watching my breathing. And you can actually hear my fiance in the background. She's trying to get me to breathe more calmly. And eventually I managed to calm down, and I managed to do 5 minutes instead of 3 minutes. And yes, I was still in discomfort and pain, but I wasn't having a full-blown panic attack like I was in the first one. So what did I do differently? I dunked my head straight away. And the reason this is helpful is because it triggers something called the mammalian dive reflex. It's a very fascinating reflex. When we have this part of our face exposed to cold water, it activates something called the parasympathetic arm of the autonomic nervous system. I'm sure you've heard of fight or flight before, and it's kind of the opposite of that. And by activating the parasympathetic arm of the autonomic nervous system, it slows our heart rate down, which conserves oxygen, and it's actually useful for when we were dunked in water, we'd be able to hold our breath for longer. But that slow heart rate also gives you that calm feeling and allows you to relax into the ice bath. Interestingly, cold shock is actually the opposite of this. So when you jump into an ice bath and you don't put your head in, you'll have something called a cold shock response, which is essentially your fight or flight system kicking in, and the sympathetic arm, so the opposite of parasympathetic, the sympathetic arm of the autonomic nervous system gets triggered. That raises your heart rate, gives you a sense of anxiety, and hence the panic sensation that I experienced in the first ice bath. Then following the quick cold dunk, I did something called box breathing, and that's another way to activate the parasympathetic system and also slow your heart rate and give you a sense of control and reduce that anxiety. So yes, I would recommend dunking your head. Disclaimer, you may have heard of something called autonomic conflict, which is essentially the sympathetic and the parasympathetic arm of the autonomic nervous system being activated at the same time. Now, it's thought this can be dangerous, particularly for people who have any cardiac disease or any arrhythmias, so any irregular heartbeats. They probably should avoid dunking their head in the cold, potentially avoid ice baths completely. I would say some safety measures include only dunking your head for a very brief amount of time. You don't want to be holding your breath and putting your head under for a long time. Make sure your ice baths are supervised so someone knows you're doing them. And always consult your own doctor before undertaking any new protocol, ice bath, sauna, a new exercise regime, a new diet or anything. You may be wondering why I'm wearing scrubs in the middle of a jungle in the Philippines. And that's because we're doing some volunteering for the next month. So if you're interested in that, I'm going to be making a video about this wild experience. I'll see you next week. Keep training, keep living. Peace.
Oh no, I'll look shorter.
You're gonna look so short.